So recently I made a video about turning my old clothes into new clothes without a sewing machine. The purpose of this video was to inspire you to think about altering your clothes that are already in your wardrobe instead of shopping. I didn't go into the specific details about all of the techniques that I use because I wanted it to be more about inspiring instead of like a how-to type video. And that was because it was the first time I had ever attempted anything like this. Little did I know that so many of you actually wanted to know the techniques that I used in that video. So in today's video, I'm going to go into detail about how I altered all of my pieces. So let's get started. First things first, I did not use a sewing machine. I hand sewed everything. Obviously this takes a lot longer than a sewing machine, but it's really therapeutic and quite easy to do. If you have no basic sewing skills, like you don't even know how to thread a needle, I'm not actually going to teach those basic things today, but I suggest you just go onto YouTube and search how to thread a needle and you will find heaps of tutorials on there to get you started. So the first thing I altered was this dress. I decided to cut off the arms because they weren't really my style anymore and they would always get in the way when I was cooking. So I simply cut them and sewed a hem using white thread. I originally thought I wanted the sleeves shorter, but thought I would test them at this length first because I know that once you cut off too much, you can't go back. I liked them this mid-length because I think the shape really suits me. So I just hemmed them there. You can see it's not a professional job, but it does the trick and I'm so happy with it. The other dress that I altered, I kind of explained in the previous video, but I will quickly show you again. It was handed down to me from my mum and it was just a little bit too big for me. So I shortened the arms. The arms were already attached at the back using buttons, so I just moved the buttons up the arms. Adding buttons and holes like this is a really easy alteration because it just means I can crisscross the back of the dress if I want. I then needed to take the waist in, and rather than unstitching the side of the dress and stitching it all back up, I decided to attach two little ribbons on the back of the dress, right on the waistline and the back seam. And then I used them to tie the waistline in a bit. Now I also altered this cardigan that I'm wearing today. So it was originally a long cardigan and I wanted to make it short because I prefer that style. I was lucky enough to pick up this ribbed cardigan for only 50 cents from the charity shop. So this is one of my absolute favorite pieces because it's gorgeous and I basically paid nothing for it. For the cardigan, I simply just cut across the bottom really carefully in a straight line with some good scissors. I borrowed these ones off my mum. I cut it longer than I wanted it because I intended to hem the bottom a little bit, but once I had cut it, I actually really liked the rough edge, so I decided to leave it. I expect over time it might fray, but I have worn it a couple of times now and there's been no fraying yet. Obviously this technique is not going to work for all knit cardigans, and the bigger the knit, I think the more likely it will be to fray or unravel. So the last thing I altered were two pairs of jeans. These were by far the most complicated alteration that I did, but they were still very quick to achieve. I found this technique months ago on Pinterest and I saved it as a screen recording on my phone. I watched this little video over and over again and slowed it down so that I didn't make a mistake. The first time I tried it with regular thread, and sadly when it came to the great reveal, the thread was not strong enough and it snapped and broke. For today's example, I'm going to show you this alteration again on another pair of jeans. I originally tried it using wool and a thick needle because I thought that would be stronger, but the needle was just too thick to go through the jeans. I then decided to go back to thread, but instead I used 4 layers of thread to strengthen it and hope that that would work without breaking. So I started by measuring how much I wanted to take in the jeans and used a pencil and ruler to mark a straight line from the top to the bottom seam. I then followed the video very slowly to make sure I was doing the right thing. I will show you the exact technique in just a moment. But before I do, as you can see, I am quite rough and this is definitely not perfect, but it works and it only takes a few minutes on either side. So you start by inserting the needle on the inside of the jeans, up the top, close to the belt loop. Using your penciled line, you then insert it from the top of the line through the fabric and out about 1/2 centimeter and pull all the way through. You go back to the center and do the same thing. In and out, just 1/2 centimeter down. Repeat this process by following the penciled line until you get all the way down to the seam. You want to finish on the inside edge, just against the seam and with the thread hanging down. Leave both needles attached to the thread because you'll need them again. When it came to pulling on the threads, I did it really slowly and delicately to ensure that I didn't snap the threads. I pulled really slowly while holding the top of the jeans. I made sure that the hand that was pulling on the thread was kept really close to where the thread was coming out of the jeans so that I didn't risk breaking it again. Once I'd pulled it through, I inserted the needle and thread back through to the inside of the jeans so that I could tie off the thread on the inside of the jeans for a clean finish. It worked perfectly. It's brought in the waist of my jeans with just a little bit of puckering. It's not too bad at all, and I'm pretty happy with the result. So that's exactly how I altered my clothes. Very amateur, but if I can do it, you can do it, and we can only get better. If you enjoyed today's video, you might like to see more of my fashion styling lookbook videos by clicking up on the screen over here. My intention is to help you find your personal style whilst being a conscious consumer. So if you like the sound of that, please do subscribe and join me over on Instagram as well. I'll see you in the next one.
Say hi.